Um, okay. You ready to go? Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to Cloud Dialogue's special London Summit wrap episode. We just did Sydney Summit wrap and now we're doing well, Georgia went to London. So, Georgia, how was London
Yay.
Summit?
It was good. It was busy. I think they said, well, we were told by AWS team that there was 18,000 people. Um, I think it was about early in the afternoon. They clocked 18,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was good. It was pretty hectic. It's a bit like
Almost
being in
double
an
Sydney.
yeah, wow. Okay. Yeah. I feel like they needed a bigger venue, but anyway, it was good. It feels like being a little bit like being in a nightclub. Like I don't feel like I have a desire to go clubbing anytime soon just because I feel like I've been clubbing for a
I
whole
know.
day.
It's loud, noisy, so many conversations, and then you're trying to listen to people talk to you as well. So it's a struggle.
So where do I start? Yeah. So obviously, oh my goodness.
Did you get much out of the
Yeah.
keynote?
So I feel the good thing about the keynote is that there was a number of customers in the keynote. I think that's something that often we kind of miss out on in the regional conferences, just because it's more difficult to get customers and there's not as many customers that they can leverage. Therefore, it becomes a bit, like listening to one of the executives speak
Mm.
for like, it feels a bit self obsessed as opposed to customer obsessed. But I think it was really good. So they had Zilch there speaking. They also had TUI like airlines. They did a bit of a thing about Adobe, but I don't actually think anyone from Adobe was there. So there was quite a bit of variety in terms of the different customers speaking, which was good. In terms of the keynote, they touched on all like the major kind of things that we would say. Obviously, AI was like a big theme. But they talked a little bit about very briefly at the beginning about reducing carbon emissions.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Sustainability is
yeah,
a big thing for AWS these
yeah,
days.
I want to talk a little bit more about that, especially as when we talk about AI. So they're talking a little bit about emissions, and then they also spoke for a few minutes about digital skills. Obviously, AWS has a goal to train 29 million people by 2025. So I think they're up about 21 million as of today, with like 1.1 of those being in the UK. So, like to give some locally kind of based data. It's also Lonely Planet. They did a thing on Lonely Planet as well around using Anthropic and reducing itinerary costs,
Oh, I saw
which
that.
I
I
think is
saw that
really cool.
recently. I saw that recently in the news. They're
Oh,
using it
really?
now for, planning the itinerary so they don't have to get people to do it and they can use the Gen AI to take all the information they've got and plan trips for people.
I was trying to understand because they were talking about reducing itinerary costs. And I was like, are they talking about reducing the costs of the people creating itineraries, or are they talking about creating cheaper holidays? I actually wasn't too
Oh,
sure on that.
that's a good point. I thought
Yeah,
the
I don't
former.
know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know because I thought the latter. So I don't. If someone knows, please let us know because I feel like the second one is something that you want to be talking about. I don't know about that. So like, oh yeah, we got rid of all these people's jobs. It's like, well, do we want to be do we want to be saying do
Well,
we want to be saying that?
maybe they just redeployed them because it doesn't necessarily get rid of their jobs, but maybe they move to
Well, if
other
anyone
areas.
knows, please let us know. Because I would be interested to know about that. Um, and then Zilch. And I feel like when like it's great having customers come up and speak speak about their products but I always get a bit like when like with Zilch, for example, they were talking about like reducing credit costs and marketing. And I was like, I don't really understand how this works. Like, it doesn't like, the lack of details kind of, like, concerns me, but anyway, that's just but it's good obviously, it's good to have customers coming and speaking, like, they wouldn't come and speak about AWS unless they really had an
Yeah.
appreciation for what the brand did for their business, right? So I think that's obviously really important. Um, they did talk a bit about buyer intent prediction, which I thought was interesting because I feel like it's something that as like society thinks about that quite negatively, or at least in my
Mm.
view, like we don't really want to be having consumerism being fed to us using our data. But I mean, I guess it's an interesting use case for AI, right? Or even just, I think actually they were doing it with machine learning. But anyway,
Yeah, a lot of it's all machine learning dressed up as Gen AI.
yes, exactly. Yes, agree, agree. And that's when you see some of the you see some of the, explanations, and especially having been on the other side, right? Having been on the other side, actually like speaking at these events, there might be some ambiguity around certain things
Yes.
for reasons, right? But then also I get that technology is obviously always constantly moving,
Yeah.
and you always want to share things even when they're not fully baked, because that's how you get the feedback, right? And that's how that agile flow works. And sometimes that's speaking at an event or whatever. So I get that as well. They also spoke a bit about Project Seba.
What's that one?
So basically, it's custom silicone.
Oh, okay.
So they're cost reducing machine learning, which I think is an important theme, obviously. And like, I'll talk a little bit more about this,
Oh, yeah, the NVIDIA
about
thing. Yep.
like, yeah, about, like reducing the cost and the environmental impact of AI just as an example, but also like all of the tech that we use, right?
Mm.
Because whatever we're doing, there's an impact to whatever we're doing. I did attend, so that was kind of like the most of the keynote. Obviously, they spoke a little bit about like Q. Obviously, Q is the big theme. Is that how you say it? Amazon
Q.
Q?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I think
Okay,
so.
that is right.
Someone tell us if
Yeah.
we're saying the wrong thing. I'm pretty sure that's
Yeah,
correct.
I'm sure everyone's got a different, it's like Azure, right? As
As you
Azure,
are.
Azure, Azure. Yeah. Um, Although we shouldn't be talking about Microsoft while we're talking about
This is
AWS.
an AWS show
Um,
today, everyone.
this is, sorry, I'm sorry. We won't have it again. The last one that spoke, TUI group, the CTO of TUI came on and spoke about how during COVID they needed to obviously cut costs because travel kind of came to a halt, and they were able to do that because they were, on AWS. So I thought that was quite cool and, relevant. And then about how they're using machine learning to like enhance personalization. Oh yeah, I thought Matt, you'd be interested to know TUI makes 10 billion AWS Lambda calls every month.
Sorry, every what? What's the period?
Every month.
2 billion. Jeez.
10 billion,
10
10
billion.
billion,
Oh my God.
10 billion AWS Lambda calls per month. I
Wonder
was
how
like,
much that costs
Matt
them.
would like that fact. Matt would like that fact. Yeah, I don't know.
What do they do?
Um, they're an airline.
Oh, they're the airline. Oh, okay.
Yeah, TUI. I
TUI.
think they're like a low cost carrier, I believe.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds like that. 10 billion.
Yeah.
The difference between your event and the Sydney event was that there wasn't enough room in the keynote theatre for everybody. So you all got shuffled into different different place to watch it remotely, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yes. And I don't know whether there was some discussion about this on social media. Obviously, it was great to see having two women presenting the keynote, or like from the Amazon side presenting the keynote, Tanuja and Francesca. It's great to see two women presenting the keynote. We weren't able to watch it live. Absolutely fine. Completely understand that the place was absolutely packed. They had everybody, all the overflow went into different suite, or like, any the breakout room
Yeah.
type areas. And unfortunately, the tech didn't really work. It basically, they gave us all headphones, again, absolutely fine, but it kept freezing every maybe 10 seconds.
That's a bit annoying.
Um, so it wasn't the best customer experience. I don't know how, like, they didn't, how they didn't know about that was going to be a problem, that capacity was going to be an issue. But again, like, there was no connectivity in the whole venue. Like, the Wi-Fi didn't work. The 4G was completely throttled. 4G, 5G completely throttled because there was just way too many people.
Yeah.
So it was a bit annoying from a work perspective like you're talking to a customer and you want to load a document or something like
Yeah.
that. Well, you
Good
can't.
luck.
There's just
Yeah.
no connectivity. Yeah. So that was a bit frustrating. And again, to be honest, I don't know why they didn't kind of realize that was going to be a problem
Yeah.
beforehand.
Oh, well.
But fortunately, we were able to, get the obviously, well, hopefully, get the gist of what happened in the keynote. But yeah, connectivity was a bit of an issue throughout the whole day. It wasn't just for that either. But it was great to see two women leading the keynote. That was nice to see.
What else did you find interesting on the day?
Yeah, so obviously Capgemini had a booth, which was, even more like a nightclub
Oh,
than
really?
than I don't know what I guess we had a lot of customers come by on the
Okay.
day, which was great, but also, I don't wanna talk about this for too long, but some of the work that the team at Cap have been doing is around forecasting, and like the environmental impact and the cost implication of AI.
Hmm.
So I think that's something really interesting that's like coming, it's like, well, obviously this is something that's becoming, I get like when we came to cloud, it's like, okay, well, we're coming to, world of AI, like now this, the progression, right? And we need to be mindful of how we consume it, given that whatever we do, there is an impact, right? So all of that was really interesting. I know there was a bunch of Amazon executives talking to the team about, how to take that to the next level. Cause I think that's obviously, we need to be responsible when we use all these tools. So
Yeah.
having that in mind is really important. I went and attended one of the like, what was it called? It was about Amazon Q, and
Oh,
I
the
thought it
queue
was
for
quite
developers. Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, Q for developers, exactly. I thought it was quite interesting how they were talking about some of the I believe newer functionality. Like it seems like they've kind of you know found some solutions for the hallucinations.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And that's like in the form of the guardrails. And they did touch on that a little bit in the keynote as well. I think it was Francesca mentioned about how they've got guardrails in place in Q. And like you can, for example, tell it to not answer questions. Like if it doesn't have data, it will
Mm.
not answer the
Yeah.
question,
Okay.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Rather
so that
than
was
making
quite
it up. Yeah.
yeah, so I think that but I was quite interested the way they were talking about it because they didn't use the word hallucinations.
Hmm.
They did
Oh,
not use the word hallucinations.
deliberately didn't
And I
use
was
the
like,
term.
I wonder why. Like, I wonder what the reason for them not using that too. I wonder if it's just because it sounds bad, like,
Yeah.
or
Maybe.
maybe it's not inclusive language. I don't know. Anyway, but I thought that was quite interesting, and obviously they're thinking really deeply about you know how to make it a good customer experience and how to make it work for organizations and developers. So
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. Okay, cool. I just want to I would love to hear if anybody's using the functionality in Q to actually like prevent hallucinations. I would love to hear if it's actually working. Let us know.
Maybe I'll
Interested
try it.
to hear
I'm
how it's
working on
yeah,
a couple of
well,
things.
I would love to know how useful it actually is. Like, does it actually work in reality? Mm.
I actually haven't
Let
used
us
Q
know.
yet, but maybe I'll take that as
Ah,
homework.
Matt, come
Well, I got
on.
scared off from reInvent. There was
You
a lot
got
of bad
scared off?
things, but
Really?
yeah. Oh no, it wasn't working very well originally, but I think things have improved.
Oh, yeah, no, I remember it was hallucinating really
Yeah,
badly, wasn't
it
it?
was. Yeah. So
Yeah, I heard about that.
I'll do some homework before the next
Just
episode,
does it actually work? Tell
and
us.
I'll report back.
What else was there? I mean, obviously there's a lot of I'll just again, like the environmental stuff. I think it's really important when we talk about, using AI or whatever to, you know, like I think it's really important that we dive deep into that data and to get an understanding of
Understanding, yeah, the
actually,
impact.
what are we doing and what is the impact of what we're doing? Because there will be for every time we transact, there's a cost to that, right?
Mm,
Especially as organizations and when we take on things like Q as when we just, as or like Copilot. there's an environmental impact for that. Um, and a cost impact,
Yeah.
I think again, like we're seeing, and I feel like cost was a theme as well. You know, I think we're seeing again, just like when organizations take on cloud, they find that they have these, unlimited resources and costs quickly blow out just because of that, just because of the nature of that. And I think, we're finding the same thing with AI. We will
Yeah.
continue to find the same thing with AI.
Yeah.
So I think it's about like understanding what your, you know, what the impact of what you're doing is.
Yeah, we're
Um,
finding a lot of at the moment as well with customers especially this year, if they're not spending necessarily on innovations, they wanna look at where they can optimize their costs. So I think that's a
yeah.
general worldwide theme at the moment. So it doesn't surprise me that you noticed it at the event.
Yeah, and I do think another thing is I feel like you leave events like this and you think, oh, AI is the answer to everything. And I just think that that's not a reality, right? I think we will, again, like we did a few years ago when AI kind of like first came into the picture, we saw a lot of failed use cases. And I think we will see that again. I think it's really about thinking deeply about the problem that you're trying to solve
Mhm.
and then thinking about the technology after. I think a lot of the time, and to be honest, like when I saw, like, say, for example, Amazon has they've changed their innovation centers, or they seem to have changed a lot of their innovation centers to AI centers. And I don't know, to me, it sends the wrong message. It's like AI is the answer to everything, and it's just not, right?
Mm.
Like, we know that it should be about thinking deeply on the problem that you're trying to solve and then thinking about the technology. I think coming into solutioning with an idea, like very strong ideas about the technology that you're going to be using is not the right approach. So I get kind of disappointed to see stuff like that. But, I think for executives, it's just about keeping the problem in the foresight and thinking about the tech later.
Yeah.
AI might be the answer, but very well it might not be either. It might be a lot simpler than that.
Yeah. As we said in the
Um,
Sydney wrap up, get your data in order and then,
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing as well, right? It's like, because 'cause I'm not saying don't do anything with AI. I'm not at all. Like, I think all organizations should be doing something with AI, but it can be about, like, discovery as a productivity tool
exactly.
internally. I feel like not enough organizations are focused on that. Like, how are you becoming more productive to serve your customers more efficiently and more cost effectively, by using tools like AI? I feel like there's not enough of that going on, but I feel like there's a lot of like, this is how we can maybe solve all these world problems with AI. And it's like, well, maybe think about the problem first
Yeah.
before you start thinking about the technology. Um, or like we need to be using AI to serve our customers because these are really like visible use cases, right? Like, well, actually, as long as you're learning about it and using it internally, you'll find those use cases naturally, right? Um, it's not the answer to everything.
Um, is there any final thoughts you want to close with? You went to this. Do you want to talk about the sovereign cloud talk at the end? Was that interesting?
It was very like, to me it appeared very much like a sales talk.
Okay.
Yeah, like I would have liked to have heard an architect come and talk about
The
the
tech. Yeah.
HSMs. Yeah, like I would have liked that. I think
Yeah,
that
that'd
would have
be more
been more
interesting.
useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been more useful. And especially because I think a lot of customers have questions about, okay, if we're using this sovereign cloud, you know, obviously there's the tech that sits in the region, right? But what about the support? What about what about all these other things that are connected to that tech, right? Like I would have loved to have seen some examples talked through, because I think that's really a lot of customers.
Mm.
Obviously, sovereignty is quite complicated once you look under the hood, and
Yeah.
I think it would have been good to talk through some of those examples because it does seem like they've done a due diligence on it, but I just felt like we didn't get a lot of the details. So something to look into, I think.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, I haven't really looked into that. Probably
Mhm.
doesn't. It's not really that relevant here in Australia. In other parts of the
Yeah,
world, it
yeah.
is, especially in Europe.
Yeah,
Uh,
in the EU, the UK, I understand why organizations are, like, hesitant. I'm hoping that next time I have a customer asking me about it, I can get them to come and speak about it because I was just like hearing Max Peterson talk about it, it was a bit of a, like, sailor. It didn't feel it was like, I really wish they had had someone technical to, like, help to have that conversation.
yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
anyway.
so asked.
No, 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 it's all good. I feel like I rambled a lot. Is there anything else?
All right. Thank you for joining us, everyone, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks, um, as per usual. And please send us your feedback at cloud-dialogues.com, or contact us. You know how to contact us, and
Um,
give us a YouTube like. Cool. All right. Thank you. Goodbye.